Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Now, did you like my new intro? Leave a little comment what you think about my new intro. I had that intro made for me by a young man named Mark Dunsmore. Mark has been my son's best friend since high school, and he got himself a music degree at Aberdeen University. And Mark composed the music that's on that intro. Even though it's just a little snippet, it's amazing. I think it's fantastic. And he also picked a few of little snippets from some of my videos. He mixed them together, put the music on, and did all that little click for me. Just reminding everyone to click on the subscribe button, click on that bell icon, and give a thumb up as well if you like the video. If you have a YouTube channel and you're looking for an intro, I'll put some of the details for Mark down in the description box. And he composes a lot of music and he's even got some of it on Spotify. I'll put the link for Spotify as well. Go and have a listen to it. It's absolutely amazing. He's an amazing composer, and I hope in the future that I can say I knew him. He's famous. He's famous now and I know him. And if you're looking for anything for your YouTube channel as an intro or even soft background music while you do crochet or any other craft, I know a lot of people like to have a soft background music, then just click on the little links in the bottom and you can have a little email or have a little chat with Mark. Mark does the music. It belongs to Mark is because it's Mark that's done the music. He's a great guy, and I'm just taking this 5 minutes just to give him a little shout out as well. His name is Mark Dunsmore, and I'll put all the links for Mark down in the description box. So look at this. Look at this. This is a spiral blanket. You just go around and around and around with this. Don't think for a minute, I'm never going to be able to make that. You can. All it is a couple of chains, UK treble crochets. If you're in the USA, this is a double crochet, a couple more chains, more stitches, a couple chains, more stitches, and you go around and around and around and around. And look at this. This is one ball and a tiny little bit of these mandala yarn cakes. You can use anything. So I'm going to show you how to do this spiral fillet blanket. It's just, it goes around, I can't stop saying it, it goes around and around. And look at that. And the further you go, the more stitches you have in between each chain. It's brilliant. You can make it huge if you want. It's really, really pretty. The one thing I'm going to tell you is, if you send me a message and say my blanket's curling, it is because you're going around and around. It won't stay curled. It will flatten. Look at mine. Mine's is all flattening out. And then I'll show you how to do this stitch, how to do the pattern, and then I'll show you how to finish it off as well. Now, I've still got some of mine to do on this one, but I will show you how to finish it off. Oh, the clattering noise. Look at this. Someone sent me these. My friend Pauline. I've got a lady and her name is Pauline, and she just sends me a little text and she'll say, I'm sending you a little gift. You'll get it from Amazon in a few days. Now it's a kilt pin. Ooh. Yeah, this kilt pin has got these little stitch markers on them. Look at this. It says Crochet Diva, and on here there's a little ball of wool. There's a pair of scissors. These are really pretty. There's a little pair of scissors. There's some buttons. There's some buttons and a little measuring tape. But you can get them on Amazon. Look at that. It is really, really pretty. And they're little stitch markers. I love them. But you know what? You can attach these to your mobile phone as well. Or you can attach them to your zippers. They're not, what am I like? You're not just using them for stitch markers. You can use them for lots of other things. And they're very conveniently on this pin. I love this pin, by the way. This is absolutely, I love it. It's like a quilt pin. It's lovely. But anyway, Pauline, thank you very much for these. I really appreciate them. They're so much better and less fiddly than those little ones that I've been using. Even though I like the little light bulb pins, these are so much easier. And look at that, they hang in your work. Brilliant. The reason I've got this on it, it's just showing me where my last sort of row finishes and then the next one starts. It goes around and around this blanket. I'll pop these off to the side. Now it goes round and round, and one row you'll have, I've got 22 stitches, and then it goes straight over to the next round and it's 26. There is no chain 3 and then another round. You just go round and round and round and round. And I'm going to show you how to make this a beautiful blanket. It will flatten out if you smooth it all out like that, and it's really, really pretty. So I'm going to use this. I was donated this, and it's a kiddie's kaleidoscope, and it's done by Signet. So I'm going to show you how to do the sample with this. I think it will show up the pattern really, really nice. So you can use whatever yarn you like. Now I have got, this is a double knitting, and for my sample again I'm using a 4mm crochet hook. This is a UK 4mm hook. So I'm going to show you how to do this spiral fillet blanket. So I'm going to start off with a magic knot, and how you do a magic knot is just like a big slip knot. I just wrap it around my hand like this. This is my tail end here. I'm going to put my hook in and just pull that yarn through that loop. I'll just give that a little pull. Get my working yarn and just bring that loop in. And I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. So into the loop I'm going to put 10 treble crochets, and that chain of 3 makes number 11. So if you're in the USA, this is a double crochet. So into the ring, and we're going to put 10 treble crochets into this ring. You can pull it a little bit smaller if you like. So altogether we need 11 treble crochets. Your chain is number 1. So I've got my 11 treble crochets. I'm going to pull this tail end, just pull it in so you can go into a circle with this, and into the top, just going to slip stitch into the top of that chain of 3 like this. So I've got my 11 treble crochets. So I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Now right at the bottom of that chain, in that little space, I'm going to put another treble crochet. I'm going to increase all my stitches. So into the next stitch I'm going to put 2 treble crochets all the way around. So 2 into that stitch, 2 into the next stitch, all the way around. So we should have 22 stitches. So I've got myself a little stitch marker that I'm going to use. You don't really need one, but if you're a beginner and you want to know where the row starts, then you can use a stitch counter. But it doesn't matter, because we're going to go around and around and around and around. It won't really matter. But anyway, I'm going to close my round off. I've got 22 stitches now. So I'm going to close my round off. Just slip stitch into the top of that chain of 3. Just like that. Now I'm going to chain 2, 1 and 2. So all your stitches are in sets of 2 all the way around, and I've got 22 stitches. I want to use the top of this next one and then the space in between my sets of 2 stitches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip stitch into this next space. Just slip stitch over into that one. I'm going to do a chain of 3, 1, 2 and 3. Now into the space, so remember that you've got sets of 2. Into that space I'm going to put 2 treble crochets. Into that space, that's 1 and 2. I'm going to chain 1. Now into the next stitch. So the stitch above this post, we're going to skip it and we're going to the next stitch and we're going to do a treble crochet into the next stitch. Then into the space that's between your 2 stitches, your little group of 2, we're going to put 2 treble crochets, 1 and 2. Chain 1 and you're going to skip the stitch that's right above that post. Now it might look as if you're going to skip that one, but it's not. There is a stitch there. There is a stitch there, and make sure that's the one above that post that you skip. And you're going to put a treble crochet into the next stitch. And then 2 into the space beside it. 1 and 2. Going to chain 1, skip the stitch above that post, and we're going into the stitch that's above this post, and then 2 into the space, and you can clearly see where your 2 stitches are. We're using 1 stitch and then 2 into the space, and this is what's going to start creating our spiral. So the stitch above that post, you skip it, and then we're going to go into the next one. But we need to chain 1. Remember that chain 1 before you do these sections. So 1 above the stitch and 2 into the chain space. 2 into the space. Chain 1, skip that stitch that's right there and work this one above the second post in your little cluster there of 2, and then put 2 into the space, and chain 1, and what that's creating is sets of 3, and then you've got a chain space, a set of 3, a chain space and a set of 3, and as you work your blanket, these sets will become, the next one will be 4 in a chain space, the next row will be 5 in a chain space, then 6 and 7, and that is going to create that spiral around with these chain spaces. Once we've done about 10 rows, we'll change the chain to 2 chains to stop your blanket from going right away. Chain 1, so you're putting 1 into the top of there, you're skipping that little stitch, 1 into there, and 2 into that chain space. That's 1 and 2. Now you're going to chain 1, remember that chain 1, and you're going to slip stitch to the top of this chain of 3 that we've got here. Just slip stitch to close the circle. So now we've got groups of 3. I want you to slip over to that one. We've got groups of 3 now. You can see your groups of 3 stitches. So we need to be above, so we need to be into this stitch here before the space. So the next round, our stitches, we're going to have 4 stitches. So what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch into that next stitch there. So slip one along, slip along 1 stitch like this. Now this is when you can put your marker in if you want. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. So what you're going to do now is you're going to put 1 into that stitch and 2 into the chain space, 1 treble crochet into that space, that stitch, and 2 into the chain space, and that one there is going to make our 4th stitch. So yarn over, because we've slip stitched over, that's a skipped our 1 stitch. So into the next one. Now you can put your marker in here if you want, and that, you know, that's going to be, that's been the start of that row. So we're going to put 2 into the chain space, 2 treble crochets. If you're in the USA, this is a double crochet. Chain 1, skip 1, and work these 2 stitches and 2 into the chain space. So you're skipping that very first stitch right beside that post. So 1 into that stitch, 1 into the next stitch, and 2 treble crochets into the space, 1 and 2. Chain 1, and you're going to skip that stitch right beside that post. Skip that one and work the next 2 stitches, 1 and 2, then 2 into the chain space, and that's going to give you a set of 4. So as you can see, we've now got sets of 4. So we started with 1, then we've got 2, then we've got 3, and then we've got 4. And that's the way the blanket builds up. And as you're doing your chain and you've got your spaces, it's moving that little space from right here in the centre, and it'll go around and around. I'll show you my little one that I've got here that I'm keeping just to show you. I'll turn it round the right way. Now as you can see, we started with our 1s, we've got our 2s, 3s and 4s, and then it's 5. So when you join your round, as long as you slip stitch 1 over and then start your count, you should get this spiral with your and 2. Chain 1, remember your chain 1. Now we're going to slip stitch into this one with the chain of 3 where your little marker is. Just slip stitch into there to join that round. Now I'm going to take my stitch marker out. Take that out. So we've got sets of 4 stitches. We're going to slip stitch through that one and over to that one. You've got to remember and do your chain before you close around, and you've got to slip stitch past that one. It's like you're doing your missed stitch with your skip stitch. You slip that first one. So now we're above this third one in that set of 4. So now we're above the second stitch in that set. You're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. That's your first treble crochet. So into the next stitch you're going to put a treble crochet. That's 2. Into the next stitch put a treble crochet. That's 3. Now into the chain space you're going to put 2. That makes 4 and 5. So now our stitch count is 5 chain 1, skip 1, and then you're going to work the next 3 stitches. That's 1 into that stitch, 1 into that stitch is 2, 1 into that stitch is 3, then 2 into the chain space makes 4 and 5. You'll always put 2 in the chain space. Chain 1, skip 1, and then you're going to work these 3 stitches and 2 into the chain space. So now your stitches are sets of 5. We went from 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Remember that chain to make your hole, and it will go around and around. You'll spiral around and around. So skip a stitch, and we're doing 3 treble crochets. 1, 2, 1 above the next one is 3, then 2 into the chain space makes 4 and 5. Chain 1, skip 1, do 3 treble crochets over the next 3 stitches. 1, 2 and 3. Put 2 into the chain space. 1 and 2, that makes 5. Now chain 1, remember and do that chain 1 before you slip stitch into the top of that chain of 3. So you're going to slip stitch into the top, the chain of 3. So remember to slip that next stitch, go into that next stitch, into the next stitch and slip it. And that gives you 1, 2, 3. And then do your chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. That's your first treble crochet. So you've got 3 more to make 4 and 2 in here to make 6. So your last round, your stitches were 5. This round, it's going to be 6 stitches. So that's your first stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 and 6. I'll go into the chain space. So that's 5 and number 6. Always put 2 into the chain space. So when you close your round, you'll slip stitch to close it. Then slip stitch along 1 more stitch. And that is what makes, and that's what offsets the chain spaces, is you doing that 1 slip stitch over. So now we've got sets of 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So we're on a chain 1. We're going to skip that stitch there and work these ones. So we're skipping that first post and then working along and put 2 in the chain space. So we should have 6. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 into the chain space to make 6. That's 5 and 6. Chain 1, skip 1, skip 1, and do your next set of 5. Or it's your next set of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're on a set of 6. So I'm going to chain 1 and slip stitch to the top of my chain of 3. Slip stitch to the top of there, and then slip stitch that next stitch right beside it, slip stitch through there, and then we're going to do a chain 3 and we'll have 7 stitches in our set. So chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to work along here. That makes 2, 3, 4, should have 5 in this part here, 5, and then 2 into the chain space to make our set of 7. Now as you can see, you can grasp what we're doing. Remember your chain 1. Now you can really grasp what we're doing here. You can see that starting to go on the spiral. I don't need my little stitch marker, because you can clearly see where you're going, and that is going to turn that little spiral. It will go around. Now until you've got to where you've got 9 in between your sets, then start doing 2 chain. So at the minute I'm at 7, so you can see we started with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then our set of 6, and then we'll have a set of 7. When you get to 9, that's when you'll start doing chain 2 in between. If you don't do that, your blanket will start to go up like a bowl and it won't straighten out. It will until you get to row 9. Now, if you are making this and your tension is different from me, don't worry if you have to start doing 2 chains in between your sets before I do. If your tension's tighter, you might have to start doing your 2 chains when you're on your sets of 7. Don't worry about that. And then you'll just continue your blanket. I'll show you my little sample again. I'll turn that around. Now I got to number 9 before I started to put 2 chains in between my sets. So here I'm at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm actually at number 11. So when I was at number 9, I started to put 2 chains in between my sets of stitches because my blanket was going up like this too much. Now keep smoothing it. You may have to start doing your 2 chains further down, so don't worry about that. If you have to do that, then you do that. It's up to you. I don't know what your tension's like. My tension is quite slack. So I got up to number 9. I got up to row 9. Then I started putting 2 chains in. Up until then, I only did 1 chain in between my sets of stitches. But once again, if your blanket starts to curl too much, put another chain. So I'm going to do what's called a half treble crochet in the UK. If you're in the USA, this is a half double crochet. Put your yarn over and go into that next stitch beside your space. Put it through, pull your yarn through, and you've got 3 loops on. Pull through all of those 3 loops. So what you're doing is, this is your UK treble and this is a half treble. So it's half that size. I'm going to do one more in the next stitch. So yarn over and go into your next stitch. You've got 3 loops. I'll pull that down a bit. You've got 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Into the next stitch, you're just going to do a UK double crochet. If you're in the USA, this is a single crochet. We're going to do 2. So do 1 into that stitch, 2 loops, and pull through, and 1 into the next stitch, 2 loops, and pull through. So as you can see what it's done, it's brought that last row down into a small stitch. What you're going to do now is you're going to chain 3. Chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now this is my last row my last row, I'm actually going to turn my work so the back of the blanket is facing me. I'm going to do one row of UK treble crochets. Now the reason I've turned it is when you're going around and around in a spiral, it makes the stitches on your last row kind of come up like this. So if we go the opposite way for one row, it's going to keep that edge straight. It won't tip forward like that once we've got the blanket finished. So for this one row only, your very, very last row, you shorten down your stitches the way I've just showed you. Rewind the video if you forget. Then chain 3 and turn your work around. So I've got the back end of the blanket facing me. That's the front of my blanket and it's facing away from me. I am going to put one UK treble crochet into every stitch. When I get to a chain space, I'll put 2 in the chain space and start straight away into the next stitch. 1 into every stitch. 1 full round of UK treble crochets. If you're in the USA, this is a double crochet. Now you might say, why did I shorten the stitches down? Because I didn't want, when you do your chain 3, you'll have too big a gap from down here up to here to do that last round, and you'll have a really strange area where you've gone from the spiral to a single row. So into the next stitch, all we're going to do all the way around the blanket is a treble crochet, and because we're going in the opposite direction, you won't have a curl around the edge. Your edge of your blanket won't be curled up like that. It'll stay straight. Now, if you make a much bigger blanket, you can keep going and going and going and just keep straightening out your blanket. If you make a great big one, you might end up with, because you can see what I mean here. It's kind of curled because we're going around in a spiral. But if we do that one row on the opposite, it's going to straighten that up nicely like that. Now, the bigger you make your blanket, you may get little folds like this in it. That is unavoidable in a blanket like this with this chain in it. It's kind of unavoidable, but it does flatten out. If you want to take a picture of your blanket, it will flatten. And if you've got it around a baby, it doesn't matter if it's got like a little bump. As you see, as it moves around, the little bumps just disappear. It won't stay there like that. It won't stay there. Look, see, it just flattens out. So I just want to bring that to your attention as well. So we're going to do our treble crochets all the way around. If you're in the USA, this is a double crochet. Just do 1 into every stitch. I'll work my way right round to that chain space and show you what I'm going to do in the chain space. Got my little ball of yarn, and this is a ball of yarn that I had my heart in. When I got this given to me, this was actually in it, this heart shape. I think it's fantastic. And I feel very guilty now that I've used it. I feel very guilty now that I've used it. I was keeping it as a prop because I think it's really pretty with that heart in the middle. So I'm going to go right around doing 1 UK treble crochet. That's a USA double crochet into each stitch, into the top of each stitch. All the way around. When I get to the chain space, I'll put 2 into the chain space and continue working. When I get to this chain space, I'll put 2 treble crochets into the chain space and continue working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work my way all the way around my blanket and I'll show you what it looks like when it's finished. And like I've said, you can do this as big as you like it or as small as you like it. If you want just a little small one, maybe a little bigger than the sample I've done, you can attach a little toy into the middle. Do you know, like those little teddy bear heads or the bunny rabbit heads? And you can make this into a little cuddly blanket for a little child. I'll throw that back over there, a little frisbee. So I'm going to work my way around just one row, this one last row. And what it does, as you can see, look at that, it's just making that last row nice and straight. It gives it a little edge as well on it. And look at that, it just straightens that little curl, because you can see the little curl there. It does go away, it really does. But because we're going that one row in the opposite direction, look at that, it straightens off that edge. And so I hope I've explained that enough. So I'm just going to go on to that first stitch after my chain space this time. We're not skipping any stitches and we're not doing any chain spaces. We're just continuing one treble crochet, or if you're in the USA, this is one double crochet into every stitch all the way around the blanket. And as you can see, it just finishes off your blanket really nice. I'll get that done and I'll come back and show you what my blanket's like when it's completely finished. Is my spiral blanket all finished? It's really pretty. It's laying flat. The edge is flat like this. You can make this as big as you want, and it's so pretty. And like I said already, it's nice and just plain colours as well. You can see from the colourways of this, it would be really pretty if it was in lemon or even in red, and it shows you the different colours with this. And the pattern stands out absolutely amazing. And look at that. I hope you give this a try. It is easy, it's simple. You just go around and around and around, around and around. You're doing your stitches, you're doing two into your chain space, then your stitches, two into the chain space, you're skipping your one, remember, and all you're doing is you're just going around and around like that. It's really, really easy. So thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. Just click on that subscribe button. If you click on the bell icon, then YouTube will tell you when I put up another tutorial. Give the video the thumbs up if you like it, and leave a comment and let me know what you think about my new intro. I'm going to stick it on the end of the video again just so you can see it. It gives you a little reminder to click on the subscribe button, click on the bell icon, and click like and give it a thumbs up if you like the video. It's just a little reminder to do that. Help me get up to 200,000 subscribers. And I want to thank Mark Dunsmore. Mark, that is a brilliant intro. I love it. Thank you so, so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to do that for me. We love it. Thank you. So until the next time, happy crafting, and I'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.